All right, welcome back to the Jimmy Dore Show. My name is James Lee, guest hosting for Jimmy today. We also got the great Kurt Metzger here. And let's talk about what the U.S. government is up to next. Apparently, there are some people out there that want to make it so that the U.S. taxpayer will have to pay the victims of October 7th. Not that we're downplaying what they experienced on October 7th, but why would the U.S. want to, or why would the U.S. be responsible for that? Let's take a listen from one of the 9/11 survivors here, and then we'll discuss on the other side.
My October 7th victims are in my Congress, lobbying Congress and writing legislation that harms the rights of 9/11 widows and children. And they're writing legislation to change this government fund that's supposed to be for American victims of terrorism.
From September the 11th to October the 7th.
Hey, why are you in my Congress? And
foreigners will get some of this money now?
Well, they're dual citizens and they're trying to expand the laws. I don't know much about Israel's Congress or their laws, but why aren't they in Israel lobbying their Congress? Why aren't they in Israel using Israel's judicial
Why would
system?
the United States taxpayer pay the victims of October 7th?
If you want to be compensated, that's fine, but don't harm the rights of the widows and kids.
That's right. Why would, that's a great question. Why would the United States government pay for the victims of October 7th? Let's take a look at the reasoning for that. So evidently this is from Gen X Girl. The ADL is the one behind this. They're trying to get U.S. taxpayers to pay $4 billion to Israeli October 7th victims through the U.S. Victims of State-Sponsored Terrorism Act. Okay, so for more information about this, is from the Information Liberation by Chris Minahan here. Quote, the Anti Defamation League is seeking to drain the U.S. victims of state-sponsored terrorism fund of billions of dollars in response to Hamas's attack on Israelis in Israel on October 7th. The ADL, which successfully lobbied the U.S. government to designate Hamas a foreign terrorist organization, is now exploiting Hamas's terror designation and the fact that some of the Israelis killed in Israel have dual citizenship in America to empty America's fund for U.S. terror victims. Quote, Iran is the world's leading state sponsor of anti-Semitism and terror alongside Syria and North Korea, and they must be held responsible for their roles in the largest anti-Semitic attack since the Holocaust, ADL chief executive Jonathan Greenblatt said in a statement. And if the defendants are found liable, the plaintiffs hope to tap into the U.S. Victims of State-Sponsored Terrorism Fund, which Congress created in 2015 to compensate individuals who have won judgments against state sponsors of terrorism. Monday's lawsuit seeks at least $1 billion of compensatory damages and $3 billion of punitive damages. Wow. Okay. So that is what they're trying to do. They're basically trying to once again, say that we need to pay for their shit. I don't get this.
By the way, a spy organization. Did you do the great video about ADL? Or was it somebody else I watched?
Yeah, no,
Their history is so foul on every level. And the way
from the very beginning, right? I mean, it's controversial to talk about with the Leo Frank, right?
He did it. Leo Frank did it.
Allegedly, right? I'm not allegedly.
The South, the Deep South, were like, hey, how do you frame a black guy? That's messed up. You know how evil you got to be for a bunch of white suckers.
Well, they tried to frame the black guy, but it didn't work, right?
That's right.
Still. So I mean,
he was already convicted when they lynched him.
I guess so what they're saying essentially, if we're to talk about that case, is that the U.S. population, the jurors, were more anti-Semitic than they were more anti-black. That's kind of what they're insinuating.
You know what? And they call their group the Anti Defamation League, not the Innocence Project or something, right? They call it. Because that shows you what a fake evil.
It's ironic because all they do is defame people. They just defame people all day. That's
right.
Their job.
That tells you what it is. It's from B'nai B'rith, which is the Zionist wing of the Freemasons back then. So it's a scumbag group. They've always been spies and filled with, and that guy is the worst, Jonathan Greenblatt. I mean, Abe Foxman was a piece of shit, but wow, this Greenblatt
he should lose his job. I mean, Jonathan Greenblatt, if you were to say he's the CEO of the Anti Defamation League, and supposedly what they do, their whole job is to basically reduce anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism, by his account, has skyrocketed, however they want to measure it. So that's actually really bad. So you should get fired from your job because you're not actually doing a good job. You should get somebody else in there that's actually going to fix the problem.
You know how we never win a war and yet they get more money every year?
Exactly. No, this is what I covered in my expose, is that it essentially functions as an industrial complex, the anti-Semitism industrial complex, and that they need to create more anti-Semitism in order to bring in more donors. It is the fuel source
of Israel. It's their fuel.
Yes.
They need it. You have to drill for more anti-Semitism like it was natural gas to run that golem that they've created, which is a trauma-based mind control creature that depends on you living in 1948 in your head all the time. Now it's going to depend on October 7th in your head. But the problem is Israelis, if you go look at their news, they know something's up with October 7th. Only the morons here think it's how Bibi Netanyahu would tell you. In Israel, they know the difference. They're remarkably forthcoming in their reporting about the things they do over there compared to here.
Well, this is what like really grinds my gears, is that they keep saying, and they meaning Israel, that they don't need American support. They're good on their own. They don't need any of our money. And so here's another situation.
Why do they I want to take it.
Why do they need to tap in? Like, why do we need to give them $4 billion as restitution for the victims of October 7th from U.S. taxpayers?
Because everything is to do that. I mean, what do you mean? Why does we have to pay for Ukraine? Why are we paying for I mean, just take it. Why are we bailing out Argentina?
No, the Ukraine, they can make an argument, right? That is for U.S. national security, right? Because of Russia, right? It's a defense. Ukraine is like a proxy for us. So if we rather have them fighting, so we're going to give them the weapons. It's good for our military industrial complex. I'm just spouting off the neocon arguments. Okay,
they would say about Iran. They said it in the thing you just showed. Iran,
right. So what would be the justification here? What would be? How is this in our national security interest, or how would this be?
Maybe because you're an anti-Semite, you don't get it, and I don't have to explain to you.
Yeah,
maybe if you weren't a rabid, virulent anti-Semite,
that's
I would love to answer, but I don't talk to anti-Semites.
I just don't see how you could possibly spin this as somehow in our interest to do this, right? The other ones, okay, I don't buy the arguments of the neocon, the pro-war guys. But at least there's an argument being made here. It's just that, because, we want this. And if you say no, you're going to be an anti-Semite. So we're going to go ahead and do this to you.
What was the argument to replace Assad with a guy from Al-Qaeda that killed a bunch of Americans? I mean, take any one of these absurd things. I have no idea.
Well, for all the coups and all the stuff, it's for natural resources, right? You could say, well, we want a guy in there who's cool with cutting it. I think this is Tim Dillon. He's like, we don't care about the terrorists as long as they cut us in on the deal, right?
That's why we left our stuff for the Taliban in Afghanistan, because that's a lithium triangle out there.
They're cutting us in on the deal, so we're cool with that terrorist. If they don't cut us in, we don't like it.
Right. Well, and plus a lot of them are assets that we created out of the gate. And I mean, Boko Haram, that's a classic. It just turned out to be from America. The one that Give Us Back Our Girls campaign. We made all of them with Israel, and they're like job creators. I don't call them terrorists. I call them job creators myself.
I think this will be a big problem. I think this is one of those things that's really going to, once again, further fuel the anti-Israel sentiment, right? Because under no argument can you make that's reasonable would you say the American taxpayer should be responsible for this.
Well, it's meant to agitate people and create more anger and
or is it that, or that's the other point, is it to create more anti-Semitism?
Because here's why. They have to get as many. The whole reason Israel's there in the first place was because the people, the Zionists behind it, wanted anti-Semitism stepped up because Jews weren't moving out. They were moving to America. And they need to make Jews here feel invested that if there's no Israel there, like Israel keeps them safe, which demonstrably it does not, by the way. Like it's never historically kept any Jews safe. It's called the Hannibal Directive. I don't know. Look it up. But believing that, so if they can make you, your American diaspora Jew living here, hey, I feel anti-Semitism all of a sudden. The groups like the ADL are there to do evil, provocative shit like that at all times and be scumbag. That's what they're there for. Because then people get mad at that, and then they say things about Jews. And then regular Jews that have nothing to do with that can get to feel scared. Maybe they were like, well, I better support Israel because everybody hates me. You see the beautiful cycle? The Lion King cycle of going on, it's just a very simple thing.
That's how they do it. They deliberately tied together these two things. If you keep saying to people that the Israelis are Jews, Jews are Israelis, there's no difference, and that you can't be critical of the Israeli government without being critical of Jews, then they're going to be basically liable for this genocide that has occurred here. So then, of course, people are going to become more
critical of that. I'll be honest with you. The genocide thing, I didn't want to call it that. I wanted to call it ethnic cleansing. So I wasn't comfortable saying that, James. That's a heavy thing to say. But then if you look up the definition of it after World War II from the Holocaust that we all believe did I certainly know happened, because that's why they're so violent and awful over there now. They're fulfilling the definition as defined by survivors of the Holocaust. So I hope the irony is not lost on everyone. It is.
Well, apparently the Holocaust, you guys covered this. The Holocaust education has been bungled, apparently, according to Sarah Horowitz, right? Because now people are becoming too sympathetic to victims.
She's one of the best.
Right. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? It's where she's talking about how
is an amazing clip that I know I'll talk to some friend of mine that doesn't know anything and they didn't see it. And if I show it to them, they'll just glaze out because they don't want to see it. But it is truly amazing. It's the thing that 20 years of not wanting to look into this, the things I watch them say blow my mind. Not people exposing them, but people from Israel say insane things. Proudly.
Well, she's an American. She's
but she's a dual passport, you know.
And she says, "Well, we've taken the wrong lesson away from the Holocaust education because
never again." That was the lesson I thought was never again. And
no.
The lesson she wanted you to learn was no, just for us, not anybody else. We could do that if we want to other people. You owe us a Holocaust, frankly, the world.
So that's kind of. I mean that's. I think this is troubling. I mean, the reason why I think this is an important issue to cover is because this is like literally tearing the fabric of this country apart, and people are not going to stand it.
It's about time.
This is what's going to cause more people to go into the street and riot because people's material conditions are continuing to degrade over time, and they see this money going over there. They're going to get on the streets, and then you're going to
just stop consenting. Everybody could just stop consenting to the bullshit.
Well, this is how they're going to create the surveillance state, though. Right. This is how, because people are on the streets and then they're going to use that as justification to say, well, this is why we need all of these Palantir, made technologies to spy on you to see what people are saying online and everything like that, even though they couldn't catch Thomas Crooks. Right. He was saying literally very violent things on the internet.
They couldn't stop Krav Magandi from becoming the mayor, though. All this.
Anyways, all right. Any last words on Israel before we move on?
I fully support Israel, and obviously didn't kill Charlie Kirk. And
all right,
they're the last place that you should think would do that.
Yes,
come see me on tour in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, Waikiki, Hawaii, and the Comedy Store in Los Angeles. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.